Widow hears strange noise outside, then sees 4 strangers in her yard. She peered out from behind her curtains. The 2 figures she saw previously had turned into 4. The 4 men walked behind her garage. They were all holding something. Gerry was dialing to call the police. She stopped to watch them come back out, but as she did, one man looked at her. Suddenly, she realized what they were doing. Her phone fell to the floor as she gasped. 75-year-old Gerry Suttle, from Riesel, Texas, was alone in her house when she heard a strange noise coming from her backyard. She had just finished eating dinner and sat down to watch the evening news when she got the fright of her life. Eager to identify the source of the noise, she looked out her window and witnessed something unimaginable. Gerry's beloved husband passed away 2 years ago, leaving Gerry a widow. She still missed him dearly, and his absence was most sorely felt around their house. Maybe things that her husband usually made sure to take care of were left undone as Gerry simply forgot. She had gotten used to her husband mowing the lawn, cutting the firewood, maintaining the gutters. Old habits die hard. And with her children and grandchildren living out of state, Gerry found herself alone more often than she cared for. She struggles to fight off the loneliness as well as maintain the house. Times were tough, but they were about to get much tougher. In her old age, Gerry thought she had seen it all. It wasn't until this fateful day that she realized she hadn't seen everything just yet. It was about 6:30 p.m. when she first heard the strange noise. At first, she ignored it, she even turned the TV volume up. She thought it was an appliance in the kitchen like her dishwasher or dryer, but then it dawned on her that she didn't turn anything on. She paused the TV, got up, and headed towards the kitchen. Just as Gerry predicted, nothing was on. The strange humming noise wasn't coming from the kitchen. Confused, Gerry checked around her house. Nothing seemed amiss, and shortly after, the noise had disappeared. Feeling reassured, she went back into the living room to continue watching the news, completely unaware of what was happening right outside her door. When the strange noise kept returning, it was getting harder and harder for Gerry to sit in peace. Irritated, she paused the TV once more, got up, and searched once again. It sounded so close. But this time, she thought to go to the front hall, where she had a security camera screen set up looking out on her front and backyard. As she got closer, she noticed 2 shadows moving across the screen. She froze. Moving as fast and calmly as she could, she locked all the doors and quietly made sure all the windows of her bungalow house were closed. Then she grabbed her house phone and made her way back to the security screen. However, now she couldn't see anything. The strange tall, dark shadow seemed to have disappeared. Did she imagine it? She moved to the window and peered out from behind her curtains. She was looking into her backyard, where she last saw them. The sun was resting low in the sky, casting long shadows across her property. Perhaps she really did imagine it. But just as she was about to leave, she heard the strange noise again. Her jaw dropped. She could see better now. The 2 figures had turned into 4. There were 4 men at the far end of her yard. They walked behind her garage, cowering over something. Gerry never had any trespassers on her property before. She really wished her husband was here now. She got her phone ready and dialed the emergency number. But just as she was about to call, she realized what they were doing. The phone dropped. Gerry was careful not to let them see her watching them. She thought that maybe they didn't know she was home, but then, her eyes locked with one of the boys. He let go of what was in his hand and smiled. Now, Gerry's heart was racing as her eyes began to tear. She can't believe what she is seeing. On closer inspection, Gerry realized the 4 men she thought she saw enter her property were actually 4 young boys. However, it was what they were doing that had her in tears. Horror and fright quickly turned to gratitude and tears once she realized that the noise she was hearing was lawnmowers. The boys were helping her stay out of jail. American law bans residents from growing grass longer than 18 inches, 45 centimeters, tall. Police had issued Gerry a court date, to which she never showed up, so a warrant was out for her arrest. Her neighbors all heard about it, and so did these 4 young boys. They each brought a lawn mower and gardening tools, and got to work, mowing her lawn and digging out the overgrown weeds and illegal offenses. Gerry was speechless. Shortly after Gerry realized what was happening, she saw more neighbors join in to help the boys. The hefty task was complete within 2 short hours. Gerry was overwhelmed at the kind and selfless gesture of her neighbors and the 4 young boys, especially at a time when she felt so lonely and scared by the unusual activity just minutes before. Commenting on the kind actions of the boys, Gerry tearfully said, "I am very seldom without words. This is one time. You might want to mark it down in history that I didn't have something to say." She continued, "For them to be that young and to want to help somebody, it's just absolutely wonderful."